Okay, so you are going to raffle off the book. Awesome. What's that? So you did hear me. I don't need that. Okay. So anyway, so let's jump in. First, I want to kind of start off with everybody's heard of phishing, right? Formal definition is basically a form of fraud, which an attacker masquerades as a reputable entity or person in email and other forms of communication. So the biggest phishing attack that has ever happened so far here to date was with Google and Facebook. And it took 2 years for them to figure it out. The hackers were able to phish $100 million from the two organizations. These are big, huge events. Last year, we responded to 27 individual compromises from local Southwest Florida businesses. They ranged anywhere from $5,000 to $440,000. We did a case study with a 25-person medical practice from a few years back, factoring in the ransom that they paid, lost productivity, fines, reputational damage. It cost the practice about $1.25 million. So why am I sharing this with you? I want you to understand that phishing is the easiest way for hackers to scam you. It's extremely effective. It's happening to businesses just like yours almost every day. So let's talk about 7 things that you can do to protect yourself online. First off, why are people trying to hack you? As opposed to anybody else on your team. They're interested in a couple of things. They're interested in your identity, your privileges, and your authority. So what would they do with your identity? Pretty simple. They're going to do things like file fake tax returns, and they're going to cash the check from the IRS and put it in their bank account. They're going to gain access to your credit cards. They're going to get vendors to send replacement credit cards to them. They can even register new credit cards, and that's going to go weeks or months before you're going to notice if that happened. They can open up new lines of credit in your name. There's also a trick. Anybody heard of home title theft? I know they're kind of hawking it on the radio programs and whatnot. Just a quick tip on home title theft where people are basically trying to switch the title in their name. The lead clerk's website has a property fraud alert system. It is free to sign up for. Just go on there, put in your first and last name, your email address, and they will let you know if any document shows up in 24 to 48 hours. So there's a free quick tip there. Finally, they may access medical care in your name, which they're going to be long gone and got the treatment before you have to deal with that. What about the privileges? So what we're talking about here is basically user accounts. They're looking to access accounts that you have at your office. So anybody here have Microsoft 365 for their email? So they're going to get stuff like that. They might also gain administrative access if you're a manager. So you're going to have more privileges to do things like install stuff on your computer or access to more data. And then finally, they may ask human resources for data and personal information from your employees. And now speaking of the authority piece, what would an attacker want with your authority? So they might get your team to buy gift cards. They might get a vendor to update payment information and send payment information to the wrong bank account. They can convince your HR to send personal data. They can also add new vendors for payments to your system. And finally, we have wiring money from your team or to your team. So we actually just dealt with a roofing company 2 weeks back. They had an email compromise. The client that was emailed from internally from their system ended up wiring $27,000 to the wrong account. Luckily enough, they got on it quick enough that they got the funds frozen from the bank. So another quick tip on this, if you ever deal with wire fraud, you have about 24 to 48 hours to put a freeze on that. If the money leaves the bank, you can't do anything about a freeze, but you should contact your local FBI field office. They can put a trace on it. Once the money actually lands at the bank that it's going to, you can't put the trace. So time is of the essence. Get on it quickly. Okay, so we're talking about the 7 things every business owner must do to protect themselves. This is what we're going to cover. Knowing how to recognize fish, how to protect your passwords. For those that have Microsoft 365, we're going to talk about how to keep your account safe. We're also going to talk about avoiding smishing. I don't know if anybody's heard of that term before, so great, you're going to learn something today. And we're going to talk about avoiding multi-factor authentication bypass. It's a really long technical term, I guess. And then we're going to spend some time on detecting your personal information. And finally, we're going to cover how to identify if you've actually been hacked. So let's dive into the phishing portion. How do you recognize a phish? First off, there's a couple of different types of phishes that we're going to go through. The first one is a standard phish. It's also called a clone phishing scam. So the attacker that cast a wide net, I like to call it spray and pray. They're going to email as many people as possible, and whoever's the sucker that clicks on the link is the one that they're going to try to monetize. It's actually really effective because the statistics right now is 1 out of every 5 phishing scam, somebody clicks on the link. So that's 20% odds. Think about if I send out 2,000, 10,000, 100,000 emails, odds are is I'm going to get some money. They also they use common vendors. So you're going to have emails that show up from Amazon, PayPal, Microsoft 365, or UPS shipping notifications, or we're all buying stuff online. And they are extremely easy to detect if you know what to look for. The next thing is a spear phishing expedition. So they're more difficult to detect. They're focused on you. It might be a little personalized to your organization if they're able to glean some information online, going on social media, whatever it happens to be. They are much harder to detect, but it's a system that they're using. It's not like they're sending a personalized email just to you, so they're not super targeted. When we talk about super targeted, that is what we call executive data. So what we're most worried about with business owners and executives is this piece right here. They are extremely targeted. The hacker gains detailed knowledge about you and your organization and people you communicate with. These are the hardest ones to recognize. When you think about the type of hacker doing this, they're only going to be doing a couple of these a week. They're not doing thousands. We actually had a case where an executive was phished with a combination of knowledge from an event that they had attended that was posted on social media, and one of their vendors also had their email compromised, so they kind of sat and waited. And they eventually ended up wiring $440,000 from the attackers. The good news is they got $220 of it back, but the bad news is they lost $220,000. And with margins like theirs, you don't want to lose $220,000. So the bottom line is that all these phishing expeditions, they kind of work the same way. So we're going to talk about a couple of things that you'll see. First, they have to be believable. You got to believe it. There's a lot of skepticism out there. So if you get an email like this from Amazon, would you believe it? If the answer is yes, then you really need to be paying close attention. The next component is they're urgent. What I mean by that is Chase is going to send you an email like this asking for you to take care of this immediately. So they want you to click this basically. So the other thing is they're emotional. So we kind of tug on that urgency and the emotions on it. So if you get an email like this from Microsoft saying someone's gained access to your email, chances are you'll want to act on it quickly and you feel kind of violated. So the odds of clicking this are high. So that's what they're trying to get to happen. So what are the first things that you can do to protect yourself? There's a couple of things. First, slow down. Like, literally, I know we're all business owners, we're doing 50 million things a day, we think multitasking is a real thing. I know Edie's nodding her head with me right now. But like, take your foot off the gas and just think about it. If you're not sure, involve like a colleague or something. Ask them, hey, does this look plausible? Is this real? Pick up a phone, call the person that sent it. Is this something that you actually sent to me? Also, hover over the link. A lot of the links don't actually go where the text says they go. So they may be trying to go to paypal.com and then you hover over it and it's going to paypals.com, which is not a real website. Also, don't click links in an email. The trick is you highlight and copy them and you paste them into your browser. So that way the text gets pasted, not where the hyperlinks actually lead. Mike's not looking, so I know I'm good here. Anyways, also, never use a phone number from the emails that they send you. It's like the oldest trick in the book. So the hacker's trying to get you to call them, get you to let them into your computer remotely, and then they start kind of living off of land and trying to figure out what type of passwords you have on your system, account numbers, all that good stuff. So we actually, we had a developer in Cape Coral towards the end of last year fall for something similar. This one didn't come through an email. She actually had a QuickBooks issue, and instead of calling her IT company, she said, I'm gonna fix this myself. She Googles QuickBooks support. She clicks on the top link that shows up, which is an advertisement that doesn't actually happen to be Intuit, which is the people that provide QuickBooks, right? So she calls the people, lets them into their computer. They actually fix her QuickBooks problem. Nuts. They charge her like $1,600, says it's a license problem or whatever, and she pays it, which we all know $1,600 is too expensive for QuickBooks. And then they lie in wait for the next, I think it was 5 or 6 months, until they were able to watch an email conversation. And if you're a developer, you're dealing with expensive homes, expensive rebuilds, this type of stuff. And they ended up, I think it was like $32,000 that they were able to get the client to wire through this whole event. So just make sure you're talking to who you think you're talking to. So on the actual phishing emails themselves, you want to watch out for, you guys can see the red little symbols there. First thing is the name. There's going to be a difference between the display name and the actual email. So make sure you're paying attention to the email on there and don't get duped by the display name. Sometimes your email system might be set up to only show the display name. So make sure you set it up so that you can see both of them. Next thing is urgency. They're trying to get you to click on it quickly and not think. There's also typically going to be a generic greeting, but not in all cases. We talked about whaling expeditions. That's going to address you by what you're commonly referred to or what you have out there online on one of your business listings. Check for grammatical and spelling errors, but this is not a telltale sign anymore, because if you all been paying attention to AI, a hacker who doesn't even know English can go into an AI platform, type in their native tongue, and say, hey, can you write this plausible scam or whatever, and make sure it has the grammar of a college level student, and it'll spit it out. The suspicious links don't match the actual thing, so you'll see the text here is going to security bank, but it's actually going to a malware website. And then if you have an unexpected attachment, that's like literally a surefire sign that you've got a phishing scheme. So those are the things that we look out for, and we've covered the recognizing a phish. Let's go through protecting your passwords. So 4 out of 5 breaches are linked to insecure passwords, and if you think about it, your passwords create easy access for hackers, and that's one thing that they're hunting for. One of the ways they're going to do this is by randomly guessing your password until they get in. So if you have a very simple password, it's based on something in your life, something that they can search online, your child's names, their birthdays, whatever, it can lead to a compromise. Passwords also can be the way into all of your accounts. So what I mean by that is the hackers may already have your password due to no fault of their own. Anybody hear last month about T-Mobile's breach? So this is the second time this year that they've been breached. The total this year is 37 million personal records that were stolen, including PINs, names, phone numbers, and the hackers that actually get this, that do the database hacking, they're not trying to monetize that by going after your data. They're selling it on the dark web for typically $4 to $7 a record. So $4 a record, like I'll take that, and then I don't have to go hack each individual person. They actually use the passwords to move through your system, so they can, once they get into your computer, they can actually gain more passwords or more relevant data that you might have lying in your computer. Accessing additional resources there. So how do you protect yourself when it comes to passwords? One, don't reuse passwords. And when I say this, I mean with anything, not just your throwaway Netflix account or whatever it happens to be, because if that information gets out on the dark web, and there's patterns that you have that you're using between multiple accounts, they're going to use that and they throw it into a robot that goes through 100,000, 500,000 different websites until then it gets ahead. They're not even sitting in front of the computer in silence. Also, avoid insecure password stores. So we're going to kind of cover a couple things. One, don't let your browser remember the password. We go through and we do analysis for clients, and every single one of them, it takes me less than 2 minutes to get their passwords from their browser. So if a hacker gets in, they're better than me. It's going to be 30 seconds. Outlook, don't store passwords in Outlook. Your notes, your contacts, wherever you think is a funny place to put them and you think you're being sly, they literally have a program that just goes and searches for all of that stuff. So it's not, you didn't invent something new. Word documents, don't put them in there, even if you're putting, not saving the file as passwords or credentials, they still have a program that basically crawls your computer and finds stuff that's pertinent, looks like passwords. Excel files. This one I kind of want to spend a little time on. I did like a talk in front of a bunch of accountants, and I asked them, how many of you store your passwords in Excel? And like everybody, like 90% of the room shut up. And I said, that's bad news, right? They're like, oh, we password protect it. I literally just stopped everything and said, all right, let's see how long it takes me to get in. It was 2.5 minutes for me to get past his password in Excel. It's really easy. You just change the extension name and you open it with a version back in 2000 that didn't even know passwords existed. Backwards compatibility. So I had to create a special slide for this, and I don't even look at me. I know there's people out in the crowd for this. Post-it notes. Do not put your passwords on post-it notes. So who remembers this ballistic missile nuclear alert from Hawaii back in 2018? Anybody remember this? There was an emergency broadcast that said there's a ballistic missile inbound, everyone head for cover, not a drill. Well, the attackers compromised the emergency alert system, and the way that they did it was they found a picture posted on social media of this guy. And his password was right behind him on a post-it note on his monitor. How many people have post-it notes on their monitor? Yeah, I knew you'd fess up.
Did he get fired after that?
Yes, he does not work there anymore. I'm sure there was some monetary issue too. An emergency alert system actually has a playbook that says don't do that stuff, and he did that stuff. Okay, so the solution for this, I know I list out all this stuff. The solution is really just get a password manager. Password managers will encrypt your passwords, and they are encrypted by a password that you've never used anywhere else, that you commit to memory, you don't share with anyone, you don't write down on post-it notes. And then typically they're backed up by multi-factor authentication. So you want to make sure that you put MFA, that code that comes to your phone, or if you have an authenticator app on your device, then make sure you're turning that on for every single account that you have, especially your password manager. The authentication types, so there's text messages, there's emails, and there's an authenticator. We in the tech community prefer and know that it's more secure to use an authenticator like on your phone. Anybody heard of like Microsoft Authenticator, Google Authenticator, Authy, that type of stuff? You remember when the real estate agents had that little key with the digits that they had on their keychain? That's the same type of thing. You fetch your code and you need a physical device to do it. So now the hacker actually needs to gain access to your device and have knowledge of your password, which is harder to do both of those things. We'll talk why text and why, everyone knows why email isn't attacked. But we'll talk about the text reason in a little bit. So I've gone through a couple things about the password. Let's dig into keeping your Microsoft 365 account safe. In 2020, 65% of organizations suffered business email compromise. In 2021, that went up to 77%. It's not getting any better, it's going to keep getting worse. So if we look at what the FBI says, they're saying that there's a 65% increase in the global losses experienced from 2019 to 2020. So what that means basically is that the frequency is increasing and the cost is increasing. This is not a good recipe. So what does the hacker gain access to if they get to your Microsoft 365 account? If you have a business account, not the residential grade one. Well, first off, they get access to your email. That means saved items, sent items, deleted items. They also get access to your contacts, tasks, calendar, notes. So if you're storing passwords in your contact or calendar items or anything, tasks or notes that might be private, hackers are going to gain access to all of that stuff. I see people jotting down notes, so you're going to be busy when you get back to the office. The other thing that they can do is they can actually send emails, messages, and that means that they can send ransomware to all of your contacts. Just perpetuates the problem, right? Next thing that they can do, and this is serious, this has happened in multiple accounts, they can create forwarding rules. So maybe it's based on a subject of invoice. What they'll do is they'll send a copy of anything with the subject invoice right to the attacker. Then they're going to move the actual message into deleted items so the hacker can modify payment instructions, move it back into your inbox. This is a great way for a hacker to find opportunity to get people to wire money to the wrong place, and we're trying to cover all that stuff. This is the most common MO for hackers once they gain control of your email system. We had a developer in Cape Coral who detected this. Their CFO was essentially their IT person. I don't know how that got the combination. And she went in and she reset the passwords to all of the user accounts. She deleted the forwarding rules and celebrated victory. The hackers were still in there. They stayed there for 8 months until they were able to send emails out from their accounts receivable to clients that wired a total of $197,000 to the wrong account that they never got back. So just involve your IT people early and often. If you have a good IT person, they welcome those conversations. They won't think that you're, being a pain. So how do you protect yourself from all this happening? First, you're going to want to make sure that you have multi-factor set up. Also, you want to make sure that you never log into your M365 account from non-work computers. And don't use any free or public Wi-Fi networks unless you're on a VPN. So let's talk about how to avoid smishing. I'll kind of explain this. So just pretend for a second, your name is Mary, you work for ABC Company. If you got a message like this, would you respond? If you did, you just received a smishing scheme. So the smishing has gotten so bad that the FCC issued a bulletin warning people about robo-text and smishing schemes. So why are the attackers doing it? It's pretty simple. They're looking for access to your bank accounts, your websites, including social media, finance websites, Amazon shipping sites, even phone apps and accounts, and maybe even to install malware on your device. I actually saw somebody, they had this alert that kept popping up on their phone, and they're like, how do I get rid of this? And the hacker that sent them the text message scam, when they clicked on the link, it actually downloaded an ICS calendar, and it had all of these calendar entries in their calendar that popped up all of the alerts throughout the day, trying to get them to click on even more links to monetize the event. So they're doing some really crazy stuff. So what do they get when they get in? They can transfer money out of your account, they can make fraudulent purchases, they can sell account access to other criminals on the dark web. And when they do, here we go. Yeah, so how does smishing work? Text message is delivered to your phone, you open a link and confirm the phone number, then they begin working through the process of sending a convincing phishing landing page to you. You're going to enter your details if you fall victim to it. You maybe username and password, your bank account details, even maybe your multi-factor code. And then once that happens, another hacker is alive. So what can you do to protect yourself? One, don't respond to text or open email or text links. You guys probably know this, but the attackers, they actually keep a list for future reference of phone numbers associated with the names and account information. So just replying to something like that validates that they're onto something. Never share your sensitive personal and financial information via text. Always verify using another method of communication. So basically, pick up the phone and call the known phone number. If it's publicly posted somewhere, don't use the one that's actually in the text message. And then if you have to go to a link or whatever, go to a known published website, not a Google search and click on the ad, but check the actual domain. If you go to QuickBooks, it better say intuit.com, right? Always look out for misspelling, grammatical errors, and remember, numbers can be spoofed. So there's no way to actually verify if somebody calls you from a phone number that they actually own that phone number. I once received a phone call from my brother. It was not my brother's phone. It was somebody trying to sell me a car rent. But they were just spoofing a local 239 number. So just make sure you hang up and call the person back. What can you do to protect yourself? Remember, government agencies almost never initiate contact via phone or text. They still prefer snail mail. When in doubt, call the local field office and their main phone number, because a lot of these scams are coming through, government, or they're trying to scare you and say the FBI is after you. Also, you can report the text scams to your wireless carrier. So all you have to do is forward it to 7726, which if you can't remember it, it's spelled spam. And then if you're a victim of fraud and you receive text messages, you can file a complaint with the FCC. Just go to fcc.gov. Now we're going to talk about multi-factor authentication bypass. I'm just going to say MFA bypass because it's a mouthful. So hackers have a way to get around multi-factor authentication. Everyone has seen this. We've all gotten this at some point or another, right? You get a push notification to your phone, you approve it, you let yourself into whatever that particular piece of software is. But instead of getting one, what happens if you get 200? After a little while, you might get a call from IT support. They're going to tell you there's a problem going on. They're going to tell you, you know what, go ahead, approve them. That's the only way that we're going to go ahead and get this fixed. And that's called MFA fatigue. That's what the hacker does to get you to approve them, to let them in. And they just pretend like it's just a normal IT issue. Because everybody has IT issues, right? So that allows the attacker to get past your MFA, and all they need to know is your username and password. We kind of went over how easy it is to get that. Another thing is called a port out attack. So this is one of the reasons why you don't want to use a text message as your MFA code. So a port out attack essentially is when an attacker tricks your phone carrier into giving them your phone SIM. So then all of a sudden your phone stops working and their phone starts working with your phone. I read an article, this was like maybe a year back, a guy was trying to prove a point and he went into a Verizon. It cost him $16 to get somebody else's phone number. And really, I think all he needed to know was the person's name and their birthday. He didn't even know their social. So now they accept text as you. A really great way to know that this happens is your phone stops working. Like, if you have AT&T or Verizon, you've got that up in the top left-hand corner of your phone that disappears, or it shows up with an E, and all of a sudden you don't have cell signal. Okay, so there's another thing. This one's not as simple as a port out attack. This is called a man-in-the-middle attack. I'm going to kind of explain it because it's really sophisticated. It starts with an MFA protected resource, like your Microsoft 365. Then the hackers, they stand up a special server that looks exactly like that protected resource. Then they send you a fake website. You go to the fake website, you put in your credentials, which gets sent to the hackers, and that goes back to, they put it into the original site. Then the multi-factor code comes over to you. You give them the multi-factor code. They put it into the server, boom, they're in. Unfortunately, they just sent you to a page that said, password didn't work, please try again. So you're none the wiser that something happened. This happens to us every day. So just be cautious of what sites you're going to and pay attention to the original site. So how do you protect yourself? One, never approve unexpected push notifications. Even if somebody from IT support calls you, like people that we support, I can turn their MFA off and get into their account because I'm an administrator. I don't need their MFA. Don't give MFA codes to anybody. Also, we talked about this, and I'm repeating it on purpose so you guys hear it. Don't use free or public internet without a VPN connection. Do not use non-work computers for MFA protected resources. Make sure you're on a work device that has proper protections. Don't click links inside of emails, and make sure that you examine those links and paste them in the browser instead of clicking them if you have to go through. So that's MFA bypass, not shorter name. We're going to go through protecting your personal information. So what do you store on your computers? Think about all the different types of stuff that you can have. payroll data, contracts, tax files, loan applications, credit card statements, and really that list, that's just the tip of the iceberg. When we do assessments for clients, I pull up probably 20 other types of data on there, including social security numbers, bank accounts, all that stuff, sitting in plain text. So there's something that's called, it's basically called drive encryption. If you have a Windows 10 professional license or 11 professional, this is something that you can enable for free. One of the reasons why we don't recommend buying from a box store, like a Best Buy or something for your business, because they're typically like 90% of them come with a home license. You cannot enable this out of the box. Essentially what encryption does is it turns your data into what I like to call like hieroglyphics. Nobody can understand it unless they have a key to unlock it. Once it's unlocked, you can read the data. So when you log into your computer, just by typing in the password, boom, it's unlocked, everything's great. And that's fine when you lose your laptop at Starbucks because nobody knows your password. All your stuff's encrypted, you don't have to worry about your data getting stolen. But what happens if you get phished? The attacker gets you to click the malicious link, and it means all of your personal data, just like this, because you're already logged into your computer, is accessible. So what do? Well, if you store your information into something called an encrypted vault. So it will only unencrypt while it's being accessed. Basically, you're going to need to put a password in or something like that. You also want to make sure that you're setting the vault up so that it automatically locks when you're not using it. So, and this isn't for all your data. This is just sensitive data. We have a client that has a payroll company. All of his clients' data, it's in a vault. We don't want that to be accessible if somebody hacks it. So verify that you have BitLocker drive encryption turned on. You literally can, on Windows, just go down, click the Windows thing, type in BitLocker, and the setting will come up and you can see if it's turned on or not. Caution to you, when you encrypt your drive, make sure you print out a copy of your encryption key or store it somewhere really safe. Because if you don't have that and something bad happens to your computer, us IT guys will tell you there's no getting your data. So very important. We print out a copy, we retain it for our clients, and then we print out a copy and tell them to put it in the file for safe. So we covered all of that stuff. Now we want to look into knowing if we've actually been hacked. So we've covered a lot so far. So basically there's going to be 5 simple signs that you look for. The first one is that your password randomly gets reset. So if you're going through your day, you logged into a resource or whatever, and then all of a sudden it bumps you out and you go to log in saying the password's incorrect, more than likely something's afoot and you're going to want to get your IT company involved. Also, your email signature gets updated. This might be a new phone number that's showing on there, maybe a new business name, even they're switching titles around to give you more authority, so just keep a lookout on that. And also, if you start getting a ton of spam, why do the hackers do that? Basically, they're trying to keep you busy looking at all the spam while they're doing whatever they're doing, and their nefarious email will kind of slip it in and you'll miss it, right? Another thing is getting a ton of pop-up messages on your computer. And you can also notice emails that you didn't send in your sent messages if you will do that every once in a while. So what can you do about this? One, immediately contact your IT or security team. I wrote a playbook on breach response for my team. It's 67 pages long, so it's not something that I can put on slides like this for you guys. If you don't have an IT or security team, feel free to call us. Like our response time goes very, very fast, and we just helped that roofing company. They weren't a client of ours. We were on it, and we had the issue remediated in less than a business day.